You know, we talk a lot about building physical strength, right? Hitting the gym, lifting weights. But what about mental strength? For so long, people thought it was just something you were born with. You either had it or you didn't. Well, psychology is showing us that's just not true. It's a skill. It's a muscle. And just like any other muscle, you can train it. So the real question is, how do we do it? Let's dive in. It really all starts with this simple, almost silly question. I want you to imagine you're 4 years old again. You're sitting in a room, and right in front of you is a delicious, fluffy marshmallow. You're told, you can eat this one right now, or if you can just wait 15 minutes, you'll get a second one. What do you do?
So this wasn't just some random thought experiment. This was the actual setup for one of the most famous studies in psychology history, Walter Mischel's Stanford Marshmallow Experiment back in the 1960s. He put this exact choice in front of a bunch of preschoolers to see how they'd handle temptation.
And as you can probably guess, some kids gobbled up that marshmallow in seconds. Others, though, they were amazing. They used all these little strategies to resist. They'd sing songs, hide their faces, even sit on their hands. But here's the kicker. The most incredible part of this whole thing wasn't about the marshmallows. It was about what happened to these kids years, even decades later.
The researchers kept tabs on these kids as they grew up, and the findings were, frankly, mind-blowing. The kids who managed to wait for that second marshmallow, on average, they had higher SAT scores. They were better at handling stress. They had better social skills. They were even less likely to struggle with things like obesity or drug problems as adults.
This superpower has a name. It's called delayed gratification. And really, it's the skill of saying no to what you want right now to get something even better later on. It's choosing to study tonight for the A on the test tomorrow. It's putting money aside this month for that big trip next year. We face marshmallow tests all the time.
And that skill, that ability to delay gratification, is a fundamental building block of what we now call mental strength. But what even is mental strength? It's a term that gets thrown around a lot, and it's super easy to confuse it with something else.
So let's clear this up, because it's so important. Mental health and mental strength are not the same thing. Think of it like this. Your physical health could be having good cholesterol levels. Your physical strength is being able to lift a heavy box when you're moving. See the difference? You can be managing a chronic health issue and still be incredibly strong. In the same way, you could be actively working on your mental health while also building unbelievable mental strength.
So, if we want to build that strength, how do we do it? What's the workout plan? Well, psychology tells us there are 3 core secrets. And the very first one is all about getting a handle on that little voice inside your head. It's about mastering your thoughts.
Get this number in your head, 70,000. Scientists estimate that's roughly how many thoughts we have every single day. That's 70,000 chances to either build ourselves up or to tear ourselves down. And that inner monologue, man, it is powerful. It has this sneaky way of becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Building mental strength means you've got to learn to be the boss of this inner dialogue. First, you just have to notice when the thoughts get negative or super critical. Then, and this is crucial, you challenge them. Because here's the thing, a thought is not a fact. Just because you think, I'm totally going to fail, doesn't make it true. And finally, you reframe it. You talk back to that inner critic with a little bit of compassion.
And hey, if you need a simple tool, this one is an absolute game changer. The next time you catch yourself spiraling, just ask this question. Seriously, you would never look a friend in the eye and say, you're a total loser, you can't do anything right, so why on earth would you say it to yourself? Treat yourself with that same kindness.
Okay, on to our second secret, controlling your emotions. And let me be really clear on this. This is not about bottling feelings up or pretending you're a robot who doesn't feel anything. No way. It's actually the complete opposite.
See, mental strength means you're the master of your emotions, not a slave to them. It is perfectly okay to feel anxious or sad or mad. That's human. The problem starts when we let those feelings jump into the driver's seat and take control of our lives. Sadness is a feeling, right? But self-pity, that's a choice. Just acknowledging what you feel gives you power over it.
So how do you actually do it? Well, first, just label the emotion. Say it out loud or to yourself. Okay, I'm feeling really anxious right now. That alone creates some distance. Second, learn to tolerate discomfort. Pushing away hard feelings is a short-term fix, but it always creates long-term problems. Facing them head-on, that's what builds real confidence. And finally, remember that you always get to choose your response. You can feel furious and still choose to act with calm and respect.
And that idea of choosing your response leads us right into the third and final secret.
This is where your thoughts and your emotions actually meet the real world. It's all about choosing productive actions.
I mean, think about it. You can have the most positive thoughts and perfectly regulated emotions, but if your actions are working against you, you're just going to stay stuck. Little habits like constantly complaining, or hosting a little pity party for yourself, or always putting things off. They might seem small, but they drain your mental energy like nothing else. So the game plan here is pretty simple. First, you've got to identify what those self-sabotaging behaviors are. Be honest with yourself. Then, you proactively schedule positive stuff in your life. Hobbies, things you love, things that fill you up. And finally, and this is the big one, you take constructive action that moves you toward your goals, especially when you don't feel like it. Start acting like the person you want to become.
So at the end of the day, I want you to remember this. Building mental strength is just like building physical strength. It's not magic, it's not something you're born with. It's a muscle. And it requires showing up, doing the reps, and putting in the work, day after day. It's about never skipping your mental workout.
Every single one of us has the ability to build this muscle. These 3 secrets, mastering your thoughts, controlling your emotions, and choosing productive actions, that's your workout plan. So the only question left is, what are you going to train it for? What amazing thing will you use that strength to achieve?